I'm Schlüter, Director of IFOAM EU, and moderator the session. At least I will do my very best. And what we will do, we will now make a short snapshot what the situation is. And then I would suggest we immediately go in dialogue with you. So if you have questions you want to discuss, you want to challenge people here, you are invited to do so. And yeah, to start, I would like to ask the Commission to say a little bit what's the state of play as much as you can say. The Commission said when the new Commissioner, still new Commissioner, okay, this was also a while ago, but Fertl came into office, he promised a fresh look on the things. As the proposal, as we know, was heavily criticized from the sector, so the fresh look was proposed. And to me also now, in terms of trilogue, in the view that many things that the Commission proposal are challenged by the reports of Parliament and Council. What does a fresh look means, and perhaps also where are red lines? Perhaps you can give here some indications. So the floor is yours, and I'll give you my mic because we have a lack of mics.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate in this workshop and debate. Well, I understand the questions that are very, let's say, interesting for everybody to know is what is meant by this fresh look that was announced by our Commissioner earlier last year. And also, of course, you ask what are the red lines of the Commission. This is a term used in negotiations, I understand. So allow me just a very quick flashback to, let's say, the situation. In order to explain the situation, I would like to go back to March 2014. So now it's almost 2 years the Commission proposal was adopted. Just to remind that together with the Commission proposal, which is the main subject for this workshop, we had also adopted an action plan with a series of non-legislative actions, but with the aim to support the organic sector in the medium and long term. And we were also provided later in the year, in last year, also a mandate directive from the Council, the European Council, in order to negotiate agreements with third countries, but on a reciprocal basis for organics. So our proposal, I will not present it because, well, I understand you know it very well. Well, it had three aims. The first one was to maintain producer confidence. Secondly, to make it easier for farmers to switch to organics. And then also, of course, very important, maintain and increase consumer confidence. So the aim of the proposal was that organic farming remains close to its principles and objectives, and the rules are same for all, so that the public demand in terms of environment and quality are met. Highlights of the proposal, not exhaustive, so we propose to strengthen and harmonize the rules, both in European Union and for imported products, by removing many of the exceptions in terms of production and controls, and with the aim to provide a level playing field for all operators. Secondly, also reinforcing controls, that's also a very important aspect in organics, of course, by moving from risk-based, from the annual controls to risk-based. Of course, as I said, making it easier for small farmers to join organics by proposing a group certification also in the EU. Addressing the international, let's say, aspect of the organic EU policy, not only with the imports, but also with some concrete provisions concerning exports. And then finally, last but not least, simplify the legislation, reducing the administrative burden for farmers and operators and improving transparency. Well, as Marco said, since last year, there is a progress. I can imagine the same workshop last year here, and now we have the Council General approach in June. We have the Comagri vote of the European Parliament in October. We have already started technical meetings with among the institutions, what is called, in view of what is called trialogues, where the three institutions sit together and discuss, the two co-legislators and the Commission. And of course, we have also the intention of the Dutch presidency taking over in January this year to reach a political agreement by June, which is of course an objective we fully share. As I said, we are 2 years now almost from the adoption of the Commission proposal. Now, when we say about, let's say, coming to the questions, and I will close with that. So the fresh look. Well, you can see in our proposal, of course, we consider and believe organic agriculture has always been a sector committed to high standards, and we consider that it needs to stay this way, and that every effort or every action needs to go towards this direction, needs also to ensure that we are moving from probably a niche sector to a more mainstream sector. And this is what exactly we aim. Having a fresh look, of course, how we do it in the Commission. We participate in the trilogues, as it will be explained later, and we try always to give the most constructive approach possible in order for the co-legislators to reach workable agreements, compromises, simple, less burdensome, and with some value added for the sector and the consumer. When you say about red lines, well, at this stage we cannot speak about red lines exactly. Well, our proposal is the line of the Commission. You have seen, for some parts, what the Commission proposed converges with the views of the co-legislators, the Council and the Parliament. For other ones, the views are not the same, and this is where effectively we need to, let's say, help in a constructive way in order to finalize the process. We have lines, I think, as I try to say, our lines are not red, they are green, they are organic, and they aim at fair competition, level playing field, the same quality of the logo, or the same level of quality behind the EU logo for all products, and of course simplification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Christopher, perhaps you can say, listening to this, what the author of the Commission said, what exactly are then the critical points, because it seems to be a lot in order. So perhaps you can highlight, we can of course not go through all points, but what are the key points here that IFOAM EU wants to achieve or wants to see as an outcome of the trial?
Great, thank you very much, Marco. And it feels like that film Groundhog Day, where you just repeatedly come back time and again to the same thing. And although the Commissioner certainly promised a fresh look this time last year, we don't see evidence of a fresh look. And if you think about it, of course, what's changed since last year is that we do now have Council and Parliament's opinion. And although, as the Commission said, there is some convergence in some areas, there is actually enormous divergence in some critical areas, and those are the things that I want to address today. Now, obviously there's an opportunity for the Council, the Parliament and the Commission to cooperate to achieve a new regulation, and if it really does give added value and really does deliver the objectives that the Commission set initially for organic to move closer to the principles, to increase consumer confidence and to make conversion more easy, to simplify and facilitate conversion, then clearly we need to address the specific issues that are a challenge to each of those, and I believe they really are. And of course, we do share some of the views expressed by the Council and by the Parliament. And so what we have here potentially is the opportunity to develop a good, better regulation to enable the sector to develop further. But what we see is, in a sense, I believe, undemocratic insistence on the part of the Commission not to accept the direction given by the co-legislators, the Council and Parliament, on key topics, and at the same time not address the concerns of the sector. So from that point of view, what we're facing is the same difficulties as we had before, with clear indications from the co-legislators sharing our view, and the continued insistence by the Commission to ignore that completely. Now, we've had expressed by the Commission what I think was put across as a threat that the regulation will have to be withdrawn if these specific issues are not addressed satisfactorily. That's no threat to us. We've said consistently that actually improving the existing regulation enhancing the implementation of the regulation would actually be a better use of the enormous amount of time that we spent than what we have done, which is working a rearguard action, trying to make points on behalf of the sector and we believe on behalf of consumer confidence as well. So I would still say, as I said before here, that the rejection and the removal of the regulation in its entirety would, though regrettable, when you calculate the untold hours that IFOAM EU staff, the sector, and all interested parties have spent in thinking about this. So let's just fix on one or two of the key issues. Obviously, the issue of a decertification threshold for pesticides is something we have consistently said is wrong-headed and inappropriate to the way in which the organic promise is delivered. We have always said, and Council and Parliament agree, that we would prefer an approach where precautionary measures, investigative procedures for all types of possible suspicions are clarified and strengthened and most importantly harmonised. And that could and should have already been done with the existing regulation. That needs to be the focus of the activity. So the continued insistence on the part of the Commission to propose a decertification threshold goes against the co-legislators, goes against sector opinion, and increasingly goes against expert opinion on the way in which it wouldn't work, how it can't work to have a decertification threshold. It also has sort of postponed the awful day when that will come in by saying we will review it in 5 years' time. Actually now only 4 years' time, because of course it's 2020, that's only around the corner now. What we say is that if that is a way to negotiate a shared position that's not done now but we'll do it later, continues to leave that same uncertainty for a period of time which is unacceptable. So that is no improvement at all. The second, still there, consistent concern that we've had is that because organic is a process-based rather than end product-based system of verification based on inspection and verification of what happens at the operator level, the farmer, the factory or whatever, we believe that it's essential that the control system stays within the organic regulation, is not moved into the horizontal legislation for official control on food and feed. Why is that important? Well, it's because insofar as the whole approach of standards, inspection, verification and certification has been developed by the sector and on behalf, if you like, of the sector and its consumers, the stakeholders that actually enjoy the food that we produce, it's absolutely essential that it is seen as a coherent whole within the organic regulation itself. So, along with the views of Council and Parliament, in opposition to the views of the Commission, we believe that the control system should stay within the organic regulation. A further one, again, which we've seen as important, and this is looking at organic in a global context, and it's really important to recognise that the benefits that we seek to achieve through organic production and developing the organic market isn't just about Europe, it's about the situation occurring around the world for countless millions of small farmers who would like to find organic production for their own country's consumption, as well as an opportunity for export, to enable the alleviation of poverty, the protection of human health and the protection of the environment. And from that point of view, facilitating the export is important, and the insistence of the Commission on having a strict compliance-based approach is also something that we've said time and again is really important, and we're supported in this by IFOAM Organics International, representing the interests of many millions of small farmers around the world, a proportion of whom are benefiting from exporting crops, and to have a strict compliance regime would be completely impossible to implement for them. I'll just mention, if I may, another couple of things. We are fully aware of the need for the organic farm to be seen and considered as a self-sustaining entity. And from that point of view, the import of feed from distant places is something that is essentially not within the organic principles. And it is something that we have, as a sector, become relatively dependent upon. So we think it's important to develop the concept of regional feed, but to enable the continued development of the sector to take place by making sure the proposal for regional feed definition is actually achievable. The proposal from the Parliament, in this case, for 150 kilometre radius, we have estimated is completely unachievable. So we do think we need further discussion on what the concept and definition of regional feed might be, and also would like to see a progressive increase in the proportion of feed from the region, however it's defined, and also to consider that member states should have some flexibility and opportunity to define what a region is for them, because of course it isn't the same for all 28 member states. Although we've agreed that we need to have harmonised rules, we still think that we need to enable flexibility, that even for a single union of 28 member states, there are very diverse conditions from north to south, from east to west, and to have no flexibility possible in some critical areas of implementation represents to us a significant threat for the continued development of the organic sector. So those are some of the key points, and obviously what's important is that the details cannot be worked out in all cases in the Basic Act, and indeed should be part of implementing and delegated acts, and that's a process of detailed negotiation that will still need to be resolved. But if we still have fundamental problems in the Basic Act and the proposals from the Commission, and broadly we have the co-legislators on our side, then I would say it's certainly time for the Commission to make a change and do something different. Now I understand that Minister Schmidt said in the opening ceremony that he had spoken on the phone to Phil Hogan, and that maybe there is some opportunity for movement there. What I hope is that with the important voice of Germany and the presence here of the Minister of State to speak at the opening ceremony, and his promise that having spoken to Phil Hogan there may be some movement, maybe we can finally encourage the Commission to do the democratically right thing and adopt the suggestions that are coming from the co-legislators and from IFOAM EU group, representing the interests of the sector, stakeholders, consumers and the environment as well. So please, Commission, for the third year running, can we see some movement? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Christopher. This speech was almost mature for being in the European Parliament, coming to Martin Häusling. I think you have proven with your report that you have taken most of the concerns of the sector in your report, and many of the final opinions are also addressed in the final one, which is then voted by the whole Agriculture Committee. Perhaps you can give us, as much as you can, insight where we are in the process of the trilogue, and to what extent you think that the concern just addressed by the IFOAM President might be, as you say in brackets, taken into account.
I can say the most point I agree with Christoph, and I listen to the sector because I'm an organic farmer since 1988. I know what are the problems of the sector and can we make progress for the sector. I don't talk here as a Green member. I talk as a rapporteur for the Parliament, the organic regulation. We as Greens made a lot of amendments to change the proposal from the Commission, but now there are other groups. They made two proposals and made two amendments, and I now have to fight for the proposal from the Parliament. We changed a lot. We made 1,500 amendments, so we create a new proposal for the organic sector. And we are now at the moment near to the Council in our position, and we are far away from the position of the Commission. So I hope Mr. Hogan will change something. And I try to explain what is a trilogue. A lot of people don't know what is a trilogue now. There are not only three people, I talk in a closed room. So a trilogue is the treaty after we changed the treaty, and now we work after the Lisbon Treaty since 2009. So the trilogue is between Council, it's now the Dutch presidency, the Parliament, and the Commission. So we have 3 positions, and now we hope to find a compromise. But the position of the Commission is only to create compromises between Council and Parliament. There's a proposal from the Commission, but it's forget it, I can say. So we talk about the position of the Council, and we talk about the position of the Parliament. The trilogue, there are nearly 50 people this time, 5 members of the Parliament, the Dutch presidency at the moment, and the Commission. So we now had 3 trilogues. I hope we can reach an agreement under the Dutch presidency. So we agreed to make 6 trilogues in the next months. Can it be possible that we make 8 trilogues? So trilogues is nearly a whole day. And between the trilogues we have technical meetings to find compromises on the positions. It's a lot of work to find compromises between the 3 institutions. And in the first trilogue, it's my first trilogue as a rapporteur. So we see where are the difference between the 3 institutions. There are a lot of difference. I don't want to repeat what Christoph said. The biggest point is threshold. Thresholds, we agree with the Council, no regulation under with the Commission proposal under this point. So we can find a compromise between Council and Parliament thresholds. We talked about to harmonize the regulation in the European Union, not only to simplify the regulation, to harmonize the regulation. We have different standards, and I know we have made a lot of speeches to the sector. We have 28 different standards in the European Union under the same regulation. So we need, under the new regulation, we need to harmonize between 28 member states. We talked a lot about the imports, the import regulation. Our Green amendment was for the imports, not to say compliance. We say we want to make a regional model so that imports are easier to in the EU, but not we cannot guarantee that all the imports are under compliance. It's impossible. So this was a big debate now. I listened today to Mrs. Obama, and I find interesting what she says, to say not to the South, the global South, you have to accept our regulation and all is fine. This cannot be the solution for imports. We talked about mixed farms. Now mixed farms, you can say the difference between the member states. Mixed farms is not a discussion in Germany or in Austria, but it's a big discussion in France, in England, and in all the other countries. So we as Parliament and the Council accept mixed farms. It's a situation in the European Union, maybe in France, 50% of the farms are mixed farms. So it's impossible to say we close all the mixed farms in the next 5 years, so it's a big loss for the sector. So we try to bring the mixed farms to a step to be full organic. So this is the answer, not to say full stop, finish. We talked about scope, we talked about regional. What's the meaning about what is regional? This is one of the longest debates in the Parliament. Yes, we try to say, okay, 150 kilometers. I know it's not a good compromise. We can make better compromise. So I hope when you have better solutions, what is regional, so send us to the Parliament's ideas, so we can say at the end we find a European solution, what is a region? So it's not only in Germany, we say a Bundesland is a region, we have not a similar thing in France or in Italy, so it's different to find an answer to a regional organic agriculture. So I come to the start with a new fresh look, the Commissioner said. It's a problem when you start a fresh look with the same old people. So the people who make this common position, they are the same, they are now in the trilogue. So to start a new fresh look for the regulation, so I hope we can change more than what is proposed.
Okay, thank you. I would like now to invite from the farming and processing view your short statements saying under which or which outcome would make the trilogue a success. Perhaps Bavo, you can start from the side of processing trade companies and giving us a view what you think are, let's say, the conditions to be met to say this.
Thank you, Marco. Well, first of all, I think the finalization, the coming months, coming half year, is a topic for success. We cannot wait any longer. We waited already for 2 years. When we started the discussion with the former commissioner, more or less it was promised not to come up with a new regulation because we had just a new one implemented in 2010. For farmer side, I think it's a disaster to have continuous new regulation running on. Farmer need a stable regulatory framework. So this uncertainty we face now has to end, and it has to end quickly. Otherwise, we better fall back to what we have, and we know what we have, and we can improve it. So I think this is very important, and the market in organic is very good, but it's really difficult in many countries to inspire the conventional farmers to convert. And I think a good framework and a stable framework is necessary to take that to create that situation that this conversion can start really, and we need it because we are heading in the direction of between 10 and 20% organic the coming decade. It's a success when the regulation brings much more harmonization where it is possible. And if there are topics where it's really not possible, then we have to create a pragmatic approach. And of course, from trade and processing, there are some minor topics already mentioned. The import topic, where 100% compliance is, of course, an idiot idea in the world we are living in. The risk-based approach, it's in the regulation, but it's never well implemented. And we think that the risk-based approach goes back to the companies, and the certifiers should control companies on their risk-based approach, their risk-based management. And of course the residue topic, what to say about it? From the legal point of view, a decertification level is unacceptable. It would mean that the risk goes back to the farmer, and then we will not find many farmers to convert to organic. I think it's really a no-go area for organic, but we need good harmonized procedures how to deal with residues, of course, because it's a topic, something going around there. But organic cannot become responsible for the mess that it's not responsible for. Organic is without this chemical plant protection. So do not make organic responsible in that sense. Sometimes I have the feeling that organic regulation now has to be a safe haven for the consumer because something's wrong with our food. But if we continue in this direction, organic will be heaven, which is not possible anymore on Earth. And I think this is a great threat that we cannot step into. And 100% approach in every sense will diminish organic, while Earth needs and is screaming for an approach that makes organic farming much more accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Bavo. In particular, with the sentence, organic becomes heaven not possible anymore on Earth. It's a very interesting picture that you give. I never heard things for this creation. Even with this, and also then from the farmer's point of view, what will need to happen that you could talk about success or a successful trial. Thomas.
It's difficult to be not repetitive, but anyway, I try to do my best to bring a different angle into the debate. So thanks, Marco. Well, what we did from the farmer's perspective is clear. We did an organic regulation which works out on a day-by-day basis out on the field, and we did an organic regulation which is a solid basis for the future development of organic farming. And clearly this is a different one than the one which was proposed last year, and we need a little bit more than a fresh look, even though we don't see the fresh look right now. We need a kind of facelifting or whatever of the regulation. It needs to be much more than this. And from that point of view, of course, we are in general very happy that the Council, in its general approach, and the European Parliament has been picking up in its position very many of our concerns. Of course, not all of them. They are not satisfied with everything. Would be quite a surprise. But the general line is very much in line with our point of view that we need to further develop the existing organic regulation, but we don't need a total revision. So I would like to highlight 3 or 4 points, so to say, to draw a red line from another perspective, because it all seems to be very much about drawing red lines in the trial. Everybody's drawing red lines. And I can't avoid it, but I have to talk again about thresholds and about contamination and how to deal with the presence of non-approved substances in general, which are not approved for organic farming in organic produce. It is clear that we need to have a system to spot the use of non-approved substances in organic farming, and we do have such a system. And of course, we need to have sanctions if the substances are applied. That's very clear. But at the same time, we need to have a system which ensures that the farmer gets punished by contamination from the outside, which is not in his or her responsibility. And it's clear that desertification thresholds never ever can achieve this goal. We need, and that's a positive approach, we need more harmonization, how to deal with the problem if the problem occurs. But the decision in the end needs to be a decision based on an analysis to what extent the process criteria have been met or have been violated, so to say. And this is a point where, from my perspective, the European Commission tries to solve a problem with the organic regulation, which is not a problem primarily of the organic sector and not of the organic regulation. It's a problem of conventional application of pesticides and Therefore, plant protection legislation or the CAP or whatever are instruments to overcome this problem, but not the regulation of the organic sector. So this is a problem which is true for many points, but here it's most obvious that the Commission proposal tries to solve something, so to say, using the wrong tool for it. A second point is that I would like to speak on behalf of the farmers in favor of annual inspection. I heard it several times that it is in the interest of the farmers as well to reduce the inspection frequency. I mean, the IFOAM EU group has sent a letter together with Copa Cogeca to the Commission clearly stating that this is not in our interest because annual inspections are, from a farmer's perspective, some positive things as well. It's first of all a confirmation that you did your job quite good year by year. It's an indication if there are some problems, and this indication comes in time so you can react and you don't get this feedback probably very late. And most of all, it's an important pillar of consumer trust in organic produce. And therefore, we are very much in favor of annual inspection. And of course, risk-based inspection is a smart approach, and it's needed, but it can be applied within a concept of an annual inspection as well, because you don't need to be 2 or 3 days, you know, when doing an inspection at a farm which is a low-risk farm. So there you can still apply annual inspection or risk-based approaches, but within an annual inspection system. And the third point I would like to mention, we need some flexibility. It's very clear as well. In case we don't have sufficient supply of certified organic input, for example seeds or probably in the field of animal feed, we need to have opportunities to address this, and we need some flexibility how to cope with this. It's not about, let's say, watering down the organic regulation or fooling the consumer or whatever. It's flexibility we need to overcome these problems and to further develop the organic production and the supply with organic input. And finally, I think that's quite important too and needs to be really highlighted is we need some reliability and security. Because at the moment there is quite a lot of, let's say, confusion outside, and the farmers are a little bit scared what will come up. And that's the last thing we need if we want to further conventional colleagues to convince to go organic. So we really need stability, reliability, security. And this includes as well that we need the trilogue to come to an end within a reasonable period. Bavo has been saying it as well. I really think that the next half year under the Dutch presidency is really very important. The trilogue shouldn't take too long in the end. So, having said this, I would like to close with one very general comment. Now we're in the trilogue, everybody is drawing it's green, or green probably as well, red lines. It's going to be very tricky to find some good compromises on this. But once the trilogues will be done, and I hope we will really have a good result, from my point of view, we are still very much in troubles if we don't discuss a very fundamental problem. And from my point of view, the problem is that we are not looking at organic farming from the same perspective. So we very much look at organic farming as an alternative way of doing farming, of cultivating the land, of producing food. And it's very much related to the process we are doing it. It was mentioned today as well. And this, of course, leads to a certain quality. So the fact that we don't use many of these pesticides results into a product quality that we have hardly any contamination. Of course there's some contamination because we don't live in a separated world, but it's the process quality leading to this product quality. That's really the key point there, and my assumption is that the Commission proposal is based very much on a different way of looking at organic. It's very much the product quality as such in terms of what is in there, what is not in there, what can you test. And in the end, it's very much related to quality for a certain niche market. And that's not the way we are looking at it. So I think that's a debate. We have to foster, we have to stimulate this, and we have to have this with the Commission and other legislators, because if we don't sort out this, we will have problems like we do have currently with the organic regulation and other policy fields as well. It will be the same in the CAP when it comes to plant protection products or whatever. The result you're achieving, then considering the next steps depends very much on in which way you're looking at organic farming. And this is something really I think I would like already to start and to advocate for this debate, because I think it's needed, even though if we might end up, and I'm still hopeful, with a good result of the trial. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for giving also a wider picture. I mean, one issue perhaps to make this on behalf of the Commission. If you, let's say, see the situation now, I think you could also say that the Commission could be in a comfortable situation. What I mean with this, I mean, you had the proposal, it was criticized, as we know, heavily, but you had, let's say, a new commissioner with a fresh look, and is not bind to this proposal, let's say, from as initiator. But having, let's say, sector criticism, which is rather reflected in the two institutions' opinion of Parliament and Council, normally you could, with accepting the critical points, find rather an easy way where even the sector says we might even accept that we have a new regulation. However, the perception that we have is that, for example, the threshold in particular, as well as some other points, seems to be a red line where you were insisting. And I had an interesting talk to a high-level delegate from DG Agri at the Green Week, who said, we asked him why the Commission continues to insist on this, but the answer was we must justify the added value of the proposal. Yeah. So, and this was, of course, still a bit shocking, because it means that you want to justify, or it seems that the Commission wants to justify the added value for proposal, although it would go against the initial proposal of Parliament, Commission, and the sector. But would this be really a regulation with a healthy ground on this? And why not, let's say, making the fresh look, in particular in this regards, more fresh? It was not an easy question, but I must have. Sorry.
So I didn't understand the question, but let me agree not with you. I mean, and maybe something was said that we cannot have a fresh look because the same people are involved. Well, you just said we have a new commissioner. Myself, I was not involved in these discussions. Let's say so far ago. So there are some new people, if you want to put it this way, to give at least an assurance that there is some fresh look. Now about the red line, because you insist a lot on this red line concerning thresholds. Well, let me first clarify, there is no position official of the Commission other than what was proposed in 2014. The matter has not been discussed yet with the co-legislators. Now, as it was rightly said, the Commission is not there to take a decision. It will be the co-legislators that need to decide on that. And so far, the discussion on that has not taken place. Having said that, I want to really insist on some issues concerning this topic. Well, we said about the quality of the logo, about the level playing field, all that. So this is something that, well, any solution I think will be beneficial. Now, as you know, there is a gap in the EU legal framework concerning how to deal with this subject. And unfortunately, I will not necessarily agree with my colleagues here. There is no room for too much decision concerning what to do in case of presence. The legislation currently says you cannot use pesticides other than those authorized, but does not say anything concerning presence. And this creates some uncertainty also at the same time for operators in the EU. We can let's say, see different treatments on similar cases in the EU. And this is also the case in production in third countries. So I would very much welcome what was said by some speakers. We need harmonization. It is for the thresholds necessary to have an harmonized rule, it is also necessary for other aspects related to the organic production.
Okay, thank you. As I try to provoke the Commission a little bit, I will also allow the other speakers to be short. I mean, if you feel otherwise, I open it to the plenary. Okay.
I feel provoked, but I don't know where who. Now, I just wanted to add one point on this red lines we're all referring to. Of course, that's part of the negotiation. Everybody's drawing red lines, and for the time being, it looks like that these red lines they don't meet exactly, right? So somebody has to move, otherwise there won't be a compromise, right? And it's from our perspective, we really urge the presidency in absence and the Parliament in presence to really stick to these red lines, especially on thresholds and on inspection, because for us it's clear it's better to have no new organic regulation than a bad one. And we said it from the very beginning, this regulation needs to change significantly, otherwise we cannot accept it, right? This proposal needs to change significantly. So we don't fear, so to say, the risk that the process fails, even though we are, of course, contributing to a successful result. But it was already quite a debate in the Council if the proposal should be withdrawn. And I think we shouldn't fear the situation that in the end the Commission indicates that the Commission wants to withdraw the proposal. We can still work, even though there are some room for improvement with the existing legislation. But what we cannot live with is this major move away from the process quality in the field of threshold and of the inspection systems.
Okay, thanks Thomas also for the clear message. No successful trial on cost of the sector. Now we'll open up to the plenary. I saw I need some running microphones. Oh, let's start here and then give the microphone then to the middle, please. And then I will just collect some questions first before then we go down. So please.
Brian Baker, I wanted to first compliment Christopher for mentioning one of my favorite movies, and wanted to point out that when the Bill Murray character realized his actions had no consequences, that was how he was able to break out of waking up to Sonny and Cher singing "I Got You, Babe" every morning. I wanted to come back to what's my area of expertise, and I'm going to ask the same question I asked last year of this panel. Hopefully get a different answer. So where's the data? Looking at pesticide residues, pesticide contamination, this is a subject that's been much studied in the United States, what's found in organic food. What's your sampling procedure? How many samples are taken? What kind of analysis are you finding? What's the procedure for investigating positives? When you find a contaminated sample, how do you figure out whether it's based on fraud, negligence, or circumstances beyond the operator's control? And how many decertifications have you had based on a finding of fraud, and are the data published and publicly available?
Yes, thank you very much. Wolfram Dienel from German Farmers Association, and as we are members of COPA, which is an umbrella organization of all farmers organizations in Europe. We also have an organic working group, and I would just announce that we support nearly completely the position of IFOAM towards the proposal of the Commission, and we would appreciate very much if you listen very carefully as Commission, but also as trilogue parties, to what IFOAM is saying and what we have written together in April, and we will work on a common letter again, I guess, to show that we are united in denying the proposal of the Commission, and that we very fast need a decision whether we can continue with this proposal. As Martin Häusling said, then we have to change it completely, I guess, or if we maybe should just throw it away.
Hello, Hubertus Doms from HIP and Baby Food. I would like to add to more general comments. One is I'm missing a little bit the aim of the whole thing. Is the aim to support organic farming in general and trying to win the competition against conventional farming? That means that the responsibility is should be only defined by the process and no use of agrochemicals and no responsibility for an ubiquitous contamination. That should be the biggest aim, and I do not have the feeling that it is really one of the core sentences of this proposal. And the next comment is we as a baby food company, we are confronted with a very complicated definition of what is a food safety standard. And the current situation is that in Brussels or somewhere else, the only definition is as less residues as possible. So the better the analysis, the lower the levels which are allowed, and this is ridiculous. And this will lead to a situation where neither baby food nor organic will be possible. That's very easy and very logical. So the main point is that we are creating a new definition of what is food safety. That was my comment.
Hans-Peter Schmidt from Germany. Well, Thomas, you said it's very important to push the trilogue because the trilogue must not be too long so that we have a good and positive result. I'm surprised because I don't see how you can have a good and positive result. Martin Häusling described his problem. He has to put forward something which does not recognize the legitimate interests of farmers in third countries. This is a proposal of organic imperialism. It is quite clear that the Commission decided to use this new proposal to close the EU market for organics from the outside and only to open it in a very narrow way with bilateral trade agreements, but only talking to those big players that offer an internal market. So there is no organics from Africa because there is no country that will ever live up to the standard of equivalency. I think that's a blatant violation of WTO rules and a blatant violation of fairness. I don't see how you suppose that you can reach a positive, legitimate result in this trial. Thank you.
Thanks. Francesco Riva from Italy. Two hot issues. First one is on mixed farm. I agree with the wording, but about the necessity to not cut off 50% of farmers in Europe because they manage it simultaneously in conventional and in organic. But at the same time, we may try to find a system to improve in a better way the possibility to differentiate, to understand the difference, and varieties is not the right way because in this case it's possible to say this word as stupid, idiot, and so on. I heard before, because if you try to distinguish barley when it's in the field, it's not so easy, and so on. It's possible to find a solution, species, but a really easy possibility to understand which is from organic and which is not. The second one is equivalency or conformity. I understand that we not have not to close the borders, and we have to protect the import from the world. But I remember a few months ago a notification of irregularities we were involved in with a system office that works for member states in Europe. And we asked for the technical report on the case, and the control bodies write down that they use Matrina. And Matrina was the pesticide that produced a very big scandal in Italy with tons of products sequestered, and newspaper, TV programs, and so on. That was a very big problem for Italian producer. So this is my position.
Thank you. So I don't see
Thank you. My name is Tom Nizet from Control Body in Belgium. I would like to point out the problems in each of the positions from the Commission, the Council and the Parliament in relation to conversion of livestock. This is a very important point. The reality is way beyond the requirements of the regulation, which means that there are questions for which the regulation does not provide the answer. Not today with the 889 and not in the proposals that you all have at your tables. This concerns in particular the use of feed during the conversion period of land, of the animals. So that is a specific point of attention if you want to go towards simplification and if you want to make it easier for non-organic farmers to join the movement. Please have another look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to, my name is Marek Kielmann, Beginner Saatgut. I just want to ask this for Thomas. You said you need the flexibility in some sectors for instance, for seeds, that's my business, and for feed for the animals, and I totally disagree to that because we have the flexibilities for 20 years now in seeds, and we have, I think it's organic seeds will be always more important than conventional seeds because of the production and the breeding. And I can't see if we don't make a clear endpoint to this that we will ever overcome, because the companies, the seed companies who produce the seeds are mainly very commercial orientated, and if the bigger farmers have to pay, for instance, for carrots, the double or 3 times of price, how will you ever introduce organic seeds? They have it ready, they have their methods ready, but they even just don't publish organic seeds because the growers, the big growers, don't want them. So I think in some cases I cannot agree that we need flexibility by the end of the earth, because we had flexibilities for more than 20 years now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's open.
Okay, Venegas Cyprian from Burkina Faso. Since this morning, we have been going room by room to listen what those guests are saying about organic product. From now on, we have heard that developing countries have problems to meet the organic issues even in Europe or in other countries developing. What about, like Africa and other countries who are less developed, how we can do to come into this market? That's my first question. The second thing is like fertilizers are coming from Europe to Africa to boost their farming production. And today, fertilizers are not, in good position because you need organic product that we should not use fertilizers. We have to use organic product in order to meet European market needs. My question is, on TVs, newspapers, those people are talking about how to increase the real life of poor people. And we have seen that these policies is not made for poor people. So the bottom line is, what is the key solution for less developed countries? Thank you.
Antonio Compagnoni, IFOAM EU Council member from Italy, and RGB Mediterranean Secretary. A few years ago, when the Commission started the process, I was in a way thinking that we were conservative not to accept a confrontation and make a change. And I was blaming ourselves as the movement to be too conservative. But now I think it's really the time to maybe stop, because we are spending a lot of energy. We are remaking, again, the same regulation without really no new really changes. We are at the verge of a big discussion and conversation inside IFOAM, the movement, but even beyond on the Organic 3.0. We need a different approach, but we need time and a more participatory approach to make these changes. So now, if we make a change of the regulation now, I think anyway it's going to be a bad change, because we are not yet ready for a big change that we need to do, because we are not successful enough on our organic principle implementation. We are not ready to make a small change that will abort any other big change we need to do along the way. And I think we need to have a different also structure and architecture of the regulation that makes more involvement of the sector, not only the farmers or the organic that needs to be there, but the consumers and citizens, in a different way. This has been a top-down process that didn't work. You have to admit, it is now less time and energy we spend on making little changes, sometimes even worse than it was before. I think better we stop earlier, we stop better it is. I really changed my mood, and to commit for a real change with new things, because we have a new paradigm to start. We have to go in a different way, where organic needs to be more successful, more spread, more implemented everywhere in the world, not only in Europe or in the US or in every country. We need a different approach also on control and certification. We are obsolete. Now we are getting obsolete, and if any changes we're going to make on the regulation are going to be anyway not enough on a real change that we need to do if we want to really deliver something, not only 1% of the organic land in the world. We need to have 100% in 10, 20 years. And those regulations are not enough. Second point and last is that maybe there was a different view. People think that the regulation is the end of the game. It's the end of the process, but this is just a start. It should be seen like this, as a simple, basic line of start. We need other things, other ways, not just regulation. Regulation are always a compromise that puts everything and put everything down, and not even up. We need to have more space outside of the regulation. Regulation should be just a plain level field, beginning of something that is much more. Maybe the approach of different countries has been that they put everything into a regulation. That is not going to be. It's not going to be. It's 20 years of working, 25 years in asking for regulation, even at the beginning, because if you don't have it, in some places in the world you are out of law if you don't have a law. But we need to have it as a basic instrument and leave ourselves, the new society, new technology, new innovation, making new different things. So please stop this vertigo of energy, stop it now, and commit to a real change, but in a few years, in a due process of participatory of all these sectors, and all the world, not only Europe.
So, I'm now closing the line with 2 volunteers, and I will go back to the panel. So first, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Charles Pernin from France. I'm a member of SINABIO, the French organization for organic processors and retailers, and we're member of IFOAM EU. And first I would like to say that we do share the concerns from our colleagues from IFOAM EU about, of course, the threshold issue, about mixed farms and also about the importance of keeping annual inspection for organic operators. But I also have two questions to Martin Häusling and to Mr. Krimizis. First is about environmental management, because in its initial proposal, the Commission proposed to implement environmental management in organic processors and retailers. The tools that were ISO 40001 was not maybe the best tool that we can imagine, but the principle and the idea was quite interesting. And Martin Häusling and the Parliament made some amendments on this issue, and it was also quite interesting, and we hope that in the end of the trilogue there will still be something about environmental performance in organic companies, because at the moment the organic regulation is mainly based on farming, and we maybe do not have so much think about the environmental impact of processes, and we think it could be an improvement if we also include some provision about environmental performance in organic companies like processing and retailing companies. And my last question is about the annexes of the text, because the Parliament made some amendments about very detailed rules, like, for example, for poultry or some other production, that were not in the initial proposal from the Commission. So how are you going to deal with that in the trilogue? Are you going to deal with all detailed rules, or is it going to be dealt with later in delegated or implementing acts? Thank you very much.
David Permort, farmer in South France, and I'm speaking from the Fédération Nationale de l'Agriculture Biologique, la FNAB. Just we want to say that the FNAB agree really with the Parliament decisions, so propositions. We have the feeling it's follow really the French farmers' interest, and just we may say what we've been very so pity in this revisions. This revision, we don't have any social goals, and the IFOAM standards or the view of the organic sector is not only to have a technical system, but all the social goals has to be true. So for this time, sure, it's too late, but we can hope on the next that in Europa we need this tool. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I will give now the panelists a short moment, let's say, to comment. I think it was good also, there was a need that you had a moment to speak. Interestingly, of course, there were less questions but more statements, which is completely okay. So that's also why you have the chance to really reduce your statement here. But I think there were some issues starting from, let's say, the comment, we need something bigger, so let's stop the process and do something, like Antonio said, up to more issues. Of course, pesticides are a big issue we discussed, but also from America's questioning really how we do, let's see, the sampling procedures, analysis, and I don't know what basis is it, up to the issue that was said, if we look at from what we can detect, that it might lead to something that organic is completely impossible, because it's a new way of introducing food safety and going more and more down to detection methods. We also had, of course, the import was an issue with equivalence, where there were different statements, but also one important how, let's say, Africa and organic can enter the market, and what will be the solution. I think this was mentioned. And concrete question on environmental management with a different position. in Commission and Parliament, and also a practical question on the annexes was made, as well as some comments on the conversion of livestock, particularly to the use of feed. So how we can here find a non-required solution, as well as a right way of is the deadline for seeds and really the right solution or what we do here. So quite a lot of points taken, and I leave it a little bit up to the panelists how to address it, where you feel, and I would like to start completely undemocratic, but chronologically along the table. Bavo, you can start.
Thank you, Marco. I like to react very short on some topics. Mr. Baker, you asked for all the research which is done in Europe about residues. This is done basically on the national level. And of course, there is a system in Brussels to collect serious residue topics. But I would like to add something. We have an equivalence agreement with the United States. According to the NOP, there's an approach for residues. We face a problem, for instance, with glyphosate. We are discussing here in Europe levels about 10 ppb in glyphosate, following the agreement with the NOP. An import from USA with 400 ppb glyphosate is legal. It's just accepted, it should be accepted, but it's unacceptable on the market. So the topic of residues is really complex, and there should be much more data exchanged also in the equivalencies, how to deal with it. I can imagine you do not have an answer on this. Oh, but then we discuss afterwards. That's the
show you the data. I'll show you ours.
Yes. We have data on national level. Okay, we can discuss that. About the flexibility in seed. I think we need a roadmap to come up in the coming years to grow in the organic seed, and of course a change from the flexibility system that was accepted into a 100% approach in 1 year is not possible. We need a roadmap. We need practical solutions to come forward. I think the topic of which Mr. Doms brought forward, what is really the aim that we are working on? I think the aim should be really focused on the organic agriculture. There is a big need in that perspective. And we can quarrel about a certain additive to be fully 100% organic, yes or no. It's a nice topic, but this is really a detail at the end. We need to focus on the conversion of organic farming. We need to supply it. It has to happen now, and regulation must make that possible and not make it impossible. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. I think it was good to have the chance for people to make comments, but of course we don't have the opportunity now to give any sensible response. So I'm just going to pick on two things because I've only got 1.5 minutes left, and I'm going to share the time with the rest. First is, in response to the question from Burkina Faso, what can we do to help all countries? First thing is to ensure that we can enable trade to develop by not insisting on full compliance. And the second is, whoever had the good fortune to listen to Dr. Obama at the opening ceremony today, it's clearly about knowledge, supporting knowledge development and enabling better farming to be practiced, which needn't be certified organic. To develop the market for organic products in Europe, where the market is regulated, then it must be certified organic. So there is, in a sense, a twin-track approach, which is foreseen in the Organic 3.0 proposals. But actually, if we want to enable the improvement of farming systems in the global south, then it's agroecological and not necessarily fully certified organic, and that's something we need to discuss carefully here, but we want to be able to open up the opportunity for developing knowledge. The other thing I'm going to say is that the European Commission, in its pesticide regulations, has dictated for the whole of the population the maximum residue level as the safety limit. For some reason, they then impose a lower level of baby food, the Baby Food Directive. It suggests they're not confident about the safety of pesticides. Imposing further restrictions on the organic product seems to be unfair. Better for them to take a responsible approach and ban use of pesticides altogether. If there is uncertainty about this, they should stop using them. Rather than trying to impose artificial and ridiculous rules on the organic producer, recognise pesticides are dangerous and have a phase out over the next 10 years of all pesticides. That's something the Commission could do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure I can promise to ban the pesticides as Christopher implies now, at least not today. What I can say, a very few words as well. I agree with what was said, yes, concerning the, I don't think we need to focus on, let's say, that the evil is the thresholds or the compliance. The proposal of the Commission is a whole and addresses different issues and tries, according to us, give the right balance, whether it is on some certainty for operators concerning the certification, whether it is concerning harmonization of the rules, which lacks currently in the EU. I would like also to remind that tomorrow, maybe this is good also for everybody to go and attend. It's going to be for the first time. We're going to present the Commission, not my service, another service, present an overview of the audits we carried out for the last 4 years. So you will see what I said here today. There is lots of, let's say, evidence behind the problems that were mentioned. Of course, as I said, one of the objectives in our proposal was to have more farmers joining the system. We made some concrete proposals on that, like the group certification. We also try to promote a level playing field for EU farmers and also for third country farmers. I think this is also, these are elements that can help the sector to grow. And as I said, we don't consider that we're moving from a mainstream to a niche. It is, according to our data, the contrary. So we are the organic, I say we are because I'm 7 years working in the organic sector. I think we are going more and more in the mainstream. There was a question concerning the annexes of the regulation and how it will work. I'm not sure that this was addressed to me or to Mr. Häusling. Very quickly on our side, we wanted to have a more transparent and comprehensive approach on the legislation by proposing a basic act which is comprised by a series of articles and the annexes. But I'm not sure that your question was related to modification of the annexes. Of course, well, if you refer to the general legislative process, annexes can be modified according to the Lisbon Treaty, and this is also another element in the EU legislation that, of course, needs to be modernized and become, as the other legislation, let's say, compliant to the Lisbon Treaty requirements.
It's almost like in the Parliament, maximum 2 minutes.
No chance. So let me say a few words. I think we agreed we don't need a complete new regulation. We need a better regulation, but no, something very new. We need to make an existing regulation a little bit better. So I hope we can find a compromise on this point, not to say we need a complete new regulation. We talked a lot of in the Parliament in the new regulation to make new standards here, social standards, environmental standards in the new regulation. At the end, after the discussion, we say no. We have organizations like Bioland or Naturland or Demeter. They can create these standards in their own regulation. But we in Brussels, we don't want to make a new Bible for organic farmers. We make it short, regulation, and when we put social standards in the new regulation for organic, so it's complete. It's at the end, it's difficult to have it in all 28 member states. You know, Europe is very difficult in 28 member states, so to put in social standards is complicated. So I change in German because when I give the answer to Hans-Peter Schmidt, it's better to make it clear in German. Ich sage nochmal, weil die Aussage, wir könnten keine Einigung finden bei den Importen und deshalb sehe man doch, es wäre besser, gar nichts zu machen. Ich glaube, das ist die falsche Antwort. Wir haben Probleme bei den Importen, auch bei den Standards. Wir haben 64 definierte Standards, die als gleichwertig in die Europäische Union importiert werden. Und wir sehen jetzt, wenn wir bei der Kommission nachfragen, es gibt keine effiziente Kontrolle dieser Standards. Wir haben Probleme bei Importkontrollen. Nun kann aber eins, muss ich ganz klar sagen, dann willst du das nochmal ansetzen? Ja. Für alle? Ja, also wir haben eine nicht sehr gut funktionierende jetzigen Standard. Wir haben vorgeschlagen, oder ich habe vorgeschlagen, wir definieren dann für Importe regionale Standards, als zum Beispiel Westafrika, Ostafrika oder Südamerika, weil wir auch viele Sachen ja gar nicht in der bestehenden Regelung haben.
Okay, so we don't have really a functioning standard, and his suggestion was to define, let's say, regional standard, let's say, those one already existing to be recognized.
Die Kommission hat gesagt, alles kein Problem, alle müssen den europäischen Standard einhalten.
Das ist no problem.
Unmöglich.
Commission said everybody has to comply with the European standard.
Und ich denke, wir finden am Ende eine Lösung, wo vielleicht unser Vorschlag von den Grünen das ist, was eine Kompromisslinie sein kann. Weil natürlich muss die Kontrolle verbessert werden, natürlich müssen wir bestimmte Standards in unseren Partnerländern dann auch finden, über die wir sagen, uns verständigen. Und ich kann mir gut vorstellen, dass als Ergebnis, also damit man ja auch, wenn wir was verhandeln, dann muss ja auch was rauskommen, dass wir dann am Ende wieder zu dem, was wir ursprünglich vorgeschlagen haben, zu der Linie der Grünen, zu den regionalen Standards als Kompromiss vielleicht finden.
Yes, to say, of course, we need to improve and control imports, but his hope is that his original proposal might be then the compromise line in the end, because there must be some improvements in reality, so this is his hope.
Noch ein Punkt zu den nicht zugelassenen Stoffen. Wenn Sie sich unseren Vorschlag des Parlaments ansehen, dann wird sehr stark unterschieden zwischen beabsichtigten und unbeabsichtigten Kontaminanzen.
Okay, now he wants to come back to the non-allowed substances which are intentionally, or let's say, coming from, let's say, outside and not from the use.
Um das nochmal klar zu sagen, das ist sehr entscheidend nachher für die Konsequenzen für die Bauern. Es kann nicht sein, dass man jetzt mit dem Grenzwert auch einfach das Problem löst, sondern wir müssen die Ursachen angehen.
Yeah, we have to find the cause and then not, let's say, just on level of the organic farm.
Wir haben einen Punkt in unserem Vorschlag drin, der als Ergebnis, wenn unbeabsichtigte Kontaminationen ein Problem sind, dann müssen die Mitgliedstaaten handeln.
So in the Parliament proposal, we suggest if there are, let's say, found this contamination, the member states must handle it and must follow up.
Aber eins ist auch klar, wir müssen, das ist auch eine Position des Parlaments, wir müssen die Vorsorge auch stärken. Ich weiß, dass es da Diskussionen im Sektor gibt, aber da sind wir noch nicht sozusagen an dem Punkt, dass wir das im Trilogue bereden, aber da gibt es natürlich, und ich kriege ja auch Briefe und ich weiß auch, dass es da Beunruhigungen gibt, da sind wir noch im Sektor. Da werden wir mit dem Sektor noch reden, wie wir da Kompromisslösungen finden, mit denen der Sektor auch umgehen kann.
Yeah, but prevention remains a topic where we don't deal at the moment in the trilogue, but there must be a discussion with the sector how to find appropriate prevention measures and to strengthen it. Okay, thank you, Martin. Yeah, so French translations that was not. But thank you very much. And Thomas, you have the final word, which will be just in English, I hope.
Yes, sorry, not in French, I'm not able to speak. But in brief, at least to those points I was addressed specifically. The question on how can we believe in a positive and good result of the trilogue? Well, my statement, it's good that you're asking this, was aiming at the point that we draw some red lines and that we don't want to have a bad compromise. And just for the sake of a compromise, at the costs of the sector, a result of the trilogue. So, as it is clear, if there is no good result, we are not scared about a failed process, and we are not scared about an indication that the Commission might withdraw the proposal. So there is no reason for this reason to draw over these red lines and, for example, introduce thresholds or something, a point we don't agree with the Parliament, to come up with the thresholds debate in a few years again. So from our point of view, this is no solution. And I think a trilogue which lasts 1-2 years or whatever won't lead to better results. So it doesn't make any sense to prolong the debate on the crucial points until 1 or 2 or 3 years for technical reasons. The second point on seeds, you made a very fair point, and it's good to have the chance to clarify this. I said we need flexibility where we don't have the organic certified input. This does not mean, rather the contrary, we don't need the flexibility where we do have this input. And you're pointing, of course, at the problem that we need to stimulate the use of existing organic seeds, and there we need to somehow improve the situation. What I wanted to say is, it's not always the solution just to withdraw a certain flexibility and then all the problems are solved. And on the other hand, it's not the case, if there's a flexibility, there is no development. There was the flexibility, for example, on conventional feed, and we had a good development in the last years. Now we have got for ruminants 100% organic, and we are down at 5%, I think, for non-ruminants. There was a development, even though there's a flexibility. So we need to find this balance, and we need to improve the situation, but we cannot solve all the problems by getting rid just of flexibility. And finally, to what Mr. Dom said, brings me back to my suggestion to really discuss what is the key point, what is organic about, and what should agriculture be about. And I would bring in this observation. A few years ago, organic was in the DG Agri. It was in the directorate, I think, which is dealing with rural development. So agri-environment, all these issues are in rural development. Now the organic unit is part of the Directorate on Quality and International Trade. It's not to blame anybody, but this is something we need to be aware, and we should discuss if this is the right approach towards organic, or if this is not part of the problem. And this would be, I think, the debate we should have. And there would be much more positive energy in this debate, because there's so much positive energy in the organic sector, and we all sort of are fed up about this negative defending the status quo, going against the Commission proposal. I'm pretty sure if we have this debate, there will be a lot of positive energy, and we can really bring organic forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And what you just said, I was just asked about how we should communicate certain things from a food farmer. I said the problem is that in the discussion about the proposal, we discuss a lot what organic cannot deliver in detail. Perhaps we should really look also what organic can deliver. With this, I would like to close. We wanted to give, let's say, we cannot reflect and have the detailed trilogue here, but at least we wanted to give some insight of where the negotiations are, so that you can at least follow what are now at stake, where are the discussions, and I hope we match this a little bit, and thanks for your contribution, because you added and had also quite some significant time and comments. And yeah, with this, I apologize for let's say, take over, but some of you are still there, so you find it interesting enough. That's very good. And I thank the speakers for